Children, are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So we will start, right? So children, mute yourself. Yes, great. So today's session is about majoritarianism in Sri Lanka, and we will also understand why is power sharing desirable, right? What is the need for power sharing? Now, to understand that, we need to understand the ethnic composition of Sri Lanka. Now, when we talk about Sri Lanka, it is an island nation which is a few kilometers away from the southern coast of Tamil Nadu. It has about 2 crores of population, which is almost the same as Haryana. Now, when we spoke about Belgium, was also almost like same about Haryana, right? So the two countries that we are discussing are almost the same size like that of our own state, Haryana, right? Uh, so, like other nations in South Asia, Sri Lanka has a diverse population, and the major social groups present in Sri Lanka are the Sinhala speakers that are 74%, the Tamil speakers that are 18%, and among Tamils, there are two subgroups now. Sorry, the Tamil natives of the country are called the Sri Lankan Tamils, and they constitute the 13% of the population, whereas the rest, that means the people whose forefathers, they came from India during the colonial time as the plantation workers, right? So you all know that India was a British colony in the past. So the same way Sri Lanka was also under control of them. So they had created the plantations. You know, you remember plantations where people used to live inside the plantations and they were not allowed to move out, right? So they had created a plantation area in Sri Lanka where they have brought the workers from the southern part of the country to these plantations here, and they were not allowed to move. So the forefathers of these people settled in Sri Lanka. So they were known as the Indian Tamils. Now, Tamils are concentrated in north and east of the country. So if you see the map here, you can see the yellow part is the Sinhalese, right? Then the orange part that you see is the Sri Lankan Tamil, whereas the maroonish part that you see somewhere in the top and in the bottom are the Indian Tamils, where the dots, brown dots that you see are representing Muslims, right? So most of the Sinhala speaking people are Buddhist, while most of the Tamils are Hindus or Muslims. Understood, children? So all the yellow region that you are seeing are the people, Sinhala people, and they are mostly Buddhist. The other Tamils that are residing there are either Hindus or Muslims. Now moving further. Now, Sri Lanka is officially the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka as we know it now. So it's an island country in South Asia located in the Indian Ocean, southwest of Bay of Bengal and southeast of Arabian Sea. Now, geographically, if you see Sri Lanka and India, it is divided with, or it is joined with the Indian subcontinent by Gulf of Mannar and the Pak Strait. Now, Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. The leaders of the Sinhala community sought to secure the dominance over government by virtue of their majority. So as a result, the democratically elected government adopted a series of majoritarian measures. Now, when we say majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy, we mean by that the people who are in majority have the power to take the decisions, right? So these people were kind of dominating on the Tamils. So what happened was in 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language. When we say only official language, that means we are disregarding Tamil. That means the people who belong to Tamil community, whether they are Hindus or Muslims, we are disregarding them. It doesn't affect us whether they get any right or not, whether the decision is favoring their benefit or not. It should benefit the majority, not the minority, is what majoritarianism means, right? So the governments, they followed the preferential policies. Now when we use the term preferential, that means we are giving preferences to one and we are ignoring the other, right? So here people, they adopted the government adopted the preferential policies that favored Sinhala applicants for the university positions, for government jobs, and a new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism. So they, or the constitution was framed in such a way that they will uh, protect and foster Buddhism. Now they are least bothered about the Tamils that are residing in the country. So what was the impact of these preferential policies? Now, all the government measures coming one after the other gradually increased the feeling of alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils because they were not getting any benefits. So they felt alienated. They felt as if they are living in the country with no rights given to them, with no preferences given to them, and they were struggling a lot. So that feeling of alienation developed in them. They felt that none of the major political parties led by the Buddhist Sinhala leaders were sensitive to their language and culture. That means the people who were residing in the country, who were making all the laws, who were running the government, were blindfolded towards the Tamils that are residing in the country. They were least bothered about the health, happiness, or the benefits of these people. They were not given any advantage in the society. They also felt that the constitution and government policies denied them equal political rights. They were not given any political rights. They were discriminating against them in getting the jobs because all the universities and government positions were giving importance to Sinhalas. So they were not getting jobs, right? And other opportunities also they were ignored. Their interest was also getting affected because of this, because all the benefits were going to the majority group of Sinhalese, right? Now what happened was, as a result of these, the relations between Sinhala community and the Tamil community is strained over time. So people started struggling. People started struggling to get the opportunities, to get the recognition. So what happened was, these people started coming together to form the groups. Now these groups were termed as the parties. They launched, the Sri Lankan Tamils, they launched the parties to show their the disagreement with the government policies. So they started their struggles for recognition of the Tamil as the official language, for the regional autonomy as well as the equality and opportunity in securing education and jobs. Because if they are not getting the equality, they were discriminated when it came to getting educated in the universities, and also when it came to getting the jobs in the government because of the preferential policies. The Sinhalese were always given importance and not the Tamils. Right? So moving further, but their demand for more autonomy to provinces populated by the Tamil was repeatedly denied. So whatever they were asking for, it was being denied by the government. Right? So by 1980s, several political aggressions were formed, demanding an independent Tamil Elam. When we say independent Tamil Elam, that means an independent state for these Tamil people where they can live peacefully with jobs, with recognition, and with opportunities. Three things, right? So, when India and Pakistan got divided, right? Many people, they moved on to the separate state that was created. So the same way here now, people started demanding for a separate state where they all can live together, where people will get recognition, equality, and opportunity. Right? So they wanted a separate Tamil or independent Tamil Elam in the northern and the eastern parts of Sri Lanka. So all this distrust between the two communities turned into widespread conflict. Now, with this conflict, it soon turned into a civil war. Now, when we say civil war, what do we mean, children? Now, who will answer me? What is civil war that we are talking about? Come on.
Ma'am, can I try?
Yes, my dear.
Ma'am, I think civil war means a war for equality.
And what else can it be?
Ma'am, I think
Ma'am,
a
can I?
war based
Yes.
on civil lines.
Ma'am,
So,
a war between two opposing teams.
you all are very close. Just emphasize on the term civil. When we say civil, you all know what is war.
Ma'am?
Now, what is this
Ma'am?
civil?
Actually,
Ma'am, can I try?
ma'am, can
Yes.
Ma'am, I think when we talk about civil war, it is between two different communities or two different ideas that people have.
Yes, correct. So, anyone else who has to add anything over here? Or you all agree? Okay. So when we say civil war, that means a war between two distinct communities in the country where they are fighting or they are struggling for getting the equality of status, opportunity in the society, right? So when we say the war between two different communities, right? So that can definitely be termed as a civil war. So with the distrust that was prevalent in the two communities in Sri Lanka, they started struggling amongst each other, right? So that strained the relations between them. And it resulted in the civil war. So we can say that a war between the citizens of the same country that belong to two distinct communities, two different communities, can be termed as a civil war. So the civil war started or broke out between the two communities of the Sri Lanka. Now, what happened as a result of this war between the two communities? As a result, thousands of people from both the communities were killed. Many families were forced to leave the country as refugees, and many more lost their livelihood. Because any war will bring with it destruction. War will never bring peace. It will destroy the community life. It will destroy uh, the life of the people. It will take away lot of things from the people, from the society. So lot of destruction was caused due to the war. Thousands of people were killed and injured. Lot of bloodshed happened, and people were forced to leave the country and live as refugees, right? So you will also be learning about or you have already learned about this in economics chapter 1. Have you done it? Have you done economics chapter 1, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
So you
ma'am.
must have learned
Yes,
about
ma'am.
this in that chapter also, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So now with the passage of time, but the civil war has caused terrible setback to the social, cultural and economic life of the country. So all the three aspects of the country got affected with this kind of civil war that broke out in Sri Lanka, right? So now we have already discussed about Belgium in the previous session, and now we are discussing about Sri Lanka. So you know the aspects of what happened in both the countries. So what do we learn from these two stories of Belgium and Sri Lanka that we have learned? So with this, we have understood that both were democracies, right? But they dealt with the question of power sharing differently, where Belgium had a different set of constitutional framework, where they have changed their constitution 4 times, if you remember, right? On the other hand, Sri Lanka adopted majoritarian policies. So in Belgium, the leaders have realized that the unity of the country is possible only by respecting the feelings and interests of the different communities and regions. So such a realization resulted in mutually accepted arrangements of power sharing. Do you remember how the arrangement was in the central government, and then the states were not the subordinate of the central government, and then they also had the community government? Do you remember, children?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
है ना? So the model that they took was like the powers of central government have been given to the state government. So now the state was not the subordinate to the central government. Then also in the center, they had given equal representation to both the Dutch and French speaking people. Then the community government took care of the matters that were related to their community, that were related to their culture, education and language, right? So they had a different setup which enabled them to avoid any kind of distrust or any kind of conflict in the society, right? So people were living peacefully in the country, and because of that only, when many European countries came together to form the European Union, Brussels was chosen as its headquarters, if you remember, right? Now moving on to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka shows a contrasting example. So it shows us that if a majority community wants to force its dominance over the others and refuses to share power, so it can undermine the unity of the country. That means the Sinhalese who were in majority could have also given some rights to the minority that were the Tamil, the Hindus and the Muslim Tamils that were residing in the country. So because they did not get any rights, any equality, any opportunity in the country, they started to struggle against it, they started raising voice against the government, because they also wanted equality and opportunity in the society, right? Now, moving on to why power sharing is desirable. So, the two different sets of reason that can be given in favor of power sharing is that power sharing helps to reduce the possibility of conflicts between social groups. So, when we talk about Sinhalese, or we talk about the Tamil people, or we talk about the Dutch or the French people in Belgium. So, if there is proper sharing of power, we can easily avoid the conflict between the social groups, right? So, when we say power sharing, we can divide the power sharing into two prominent groups, that is the prudential reason and the moral reason. Now, when we say prudential reason, we say that people, when we talk about caring for different communities, when we talk about giving importance to different social groups, all that comes under the prudential reason. So it helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between the two social groups. It also enables the power sharing between the community in such a way that power sharing is good way to ensure stability of political order. That means all the people in the society are given equal opportunity. So since the social conflict often leads to violence and the political instability, power sharing is a good way to ensure the stability of the political order. Now, imposing the will of majority community over others may look like an attractive option, but like what it happened in Sri Lanka. But when we talk about the time where if we see long-term goals, then the unity of the nation is undermined. People will start raising their voice to get the equality, to get the opportunity, like how the people in Sri Lanka they did. Right? Moving further. Now, the second reason, we are moving to the moral reasons now. So, the deeper reasons why power sharing is good for democracy is that power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. Why we say spirit of democracy? We say because all the people are treated equally, all the people are given equal opportunities, all the people can participate in the decision making. Right? So, when we say the spirit of democracy, so a democratic rule will involve sharing of power with those affected by its exercise and those who have to live with its effects. So, that means all power sharing is going to affect the citizens who are going to live in that country, and the impact will happen on them, right? So we can say that the power sharing is the very spirit of democracy. Then we also say that people have the right to be consulted on how they are going to be governed. So a legitimate government is the one where citizens, through participation, acquire a stake in the system. That means when the government is formed, their decision is also given importance, like how we elect our government. People vote, universal adult franchise, right? So every citizen gets the power to vote, and each vote has the similar value, isn't it? So the same way, we can say that a legitimate government is where the citizens get the rights to participate in taking the decisions, where we choose our representative to form the government and function on our behalf, to acquire a stake in the system, so that the representatives who are chosen by the people will represent the community while taking the decisions. right? So in today's session, we are going to do till here, and before we move on to recap, we will just have a glimpse of what we are going to have in the next session. In the next session, we will be having the forms of power sharing. How is this power sharing done with different division of power, horizontal division and the vertical division, right? So now I'm going to share my screen with the quiz questions that I have. Just quickly have a recap of what we did today was we understood the ethnic composition of Sri Lanka, how the Sri Lankan preferential policies had an impact on the life of the people living there, how people started struggling against those preferential policies, and by 1980s several political organizations were formed that started demanding for the independent Tamil state. Then also the distrust between the two communities turned into the civil war. We also understood what civil war is, right? We also compared the policies that were adopted in Belgium model and the Sri Lankan model to understand why is power sharing desirable. So we understood that power sharing helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between the two social groups, right? So till here, any doubt, children? Anyone has any doubt till here? No? Are you all sure? No
Ma'am, I
doubts?
have a doubt.
Yes, Farhan.
Ma'am, I didn't understand the prudential reason.
Now, okay, when we say prudential reasons, we mean by it something that directly affects the society. See, morals, when we talk about values. But when we talk about the social structure, the people, the social life of the people, how they are living, what kind of opportunities they are getting, so that will come under the prudential reasons. Right? When we are talking about values, will come under the moral aspect. When we are talking about the society, the social aspects will come under the prudential reasons.
Yes.
Okay? Anyone
Yes,
else has any doubt? Okay, then we'll move on to the quiz. Vivek, I cannot see you. Why is your camera off? Ubaid, Yuvika, why are your cameras off? Was I not very clear in the beginning saying you will not switch off your cameras at any point of time? Hafsa, switch on your camera. And who is this? I am Groot. Switch on your cameras, all of you, or else I'll remove you from the session. Switch on.
Ma'am, I can't.
What happened, Darmin?
I'm using a computer.
So what?
It doesn't have a camera.
So from tomorrow onwards, when you are joining this session, please join with the mobile phone because camera is mandatory.
Yeah, fine.
Right? And who was that person who joined with I am Groot? Who is that? Somebody just left the session. Okay, great. So now we are moving on to, I'm sharing another screen with you children. Just give me a second and then we'll quickly have a mind map. Right. So are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
So today we will start with Hafsa. Answer my first question.
Yes, ma'am.
So the question says a country A takes all the political decisions after carefully calculating the pros and cons of the decision. What kind of decision does it take? Come on, quick.
Ma'am, B.
Moral decisions. Are you sure? Sarvajit?
Ma'am, D. Ma'am, D.
No. Sarvajit?
Ma'am, is it prudential?
It is prudential. Right? So that means it is taking care of all the pros and cons. How is it going to affect the life of the people, the society, and then taking the decisions, right? So that is the prudential reasons. Next question, Darmin. Which of the following statements are correct? Children, if you find the screen a little small, you can pinch and make it bigger. So that means you can zoom the screen. Nida, switch on your camera. Nida, switch on your camera. Come on, Darmin, fast. So in Belgium, the Dutch community could take advantage of its numeric majority and force its will on the German-speaking population. Sri Lanka, the Sinhala community enjoyed an even bigger majority and could impose its will on the entire country. Most of the Sinhala speaking people are Hindus. And the last option is people whose forefathers came from India to Sri Lanka as plantation workers during colonial period are called Indi and Indian Tamils. Yeah. So which of the following statements are correct?
Ma'am, can I answer?
Varda, can you try?
Ma'am, I guess it is B.
It is?
B.
Be clear, I'm not able to understand whether you are saying B or D.
Ma'am, D, the second one.
Second one. But there is more than one correct option. See, the question
Ma'am,
says
can I answer?
statements.
Ma'am, can I answer?
Yes, my dear. Yes, my dear.
Answer.
Yes.
It's D.
It's D.
It is B and D.
D. Yeah, D.
Right? So the next question is, which of the following statements are correct? Again. Pranavi, give it a try.
Yes, ma'am.
Quick.
Ma'am, it's C.
Again, there is not one correct answer. There is more than one. Sufia.
Ma'am,
Yes.
A.
Karun, do you agree with what she is saying?
No, ma'am, it's B and D.
B and D. Is anyone who agrees with Karun, or you have a different option? Or you all agree with Karun?
Ma'am, I think C is also one of the option. I mean, one of the answer.
Let us check. It is A and D.
A and D.
Right? So our constitution clearly lays down the powers of different levels of the government. Right? So all the organs of the government, they function according to the powers laid down in the constitution. Then the governments at the provincial or regional levels are called by different names in different countries, isn't it? Like we call them The central government or the union government, the state governments or the local self-governing bodies? Now the next question. This will be answered by Jeel.
Ma'am, it's
Hurry up.
yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
can I answer?
Yes, Daniel.
Ma'am, it's C. Government.
Anyone?
Actually,
Ma'am,
it's
can I
D.
try?
Ma'am, it's D.
Can I
It's
try?
Ma'am,
It's
D.
D.
Ma'am, it's D. Citizens.
Citizens.
Should
It's
be
D.
D.
Ma'am, citizens.
Citizens, ma'am.
Yes, it is citizens. Next question. In the modern democracies, power sharing arrangement can take many forms. This will be answered by Shivani.
Ma'am, true.
Huh? True? Yes, you are right. Moving on to the next question. This will be answered by Jyotsna.
Just a minute, ma'am.
Hurry up.
It is A and C.
It is A and C. Very good.
Thank you.
So now the last question for today. I think so. Yes. Now this will be answered by Maisha.
Ma'am, it should wait. Yeah, ma'am, both of them are true.
Very good. Both of them are true. Now this is the small mind map here. So we did power sharing, in which we did the comparative study of Sri Lanka and Belgium. We also did power sharing. Why is power sharing desirable? The third part, which is forms of power sharing, we'll be doing in the third session. So with the first session, if you see, we did the scenarios in Sri Lanka. Now today, when what we did was scenario in Sri Lanka, is struggle by Sri Lankan Tamils, result of the conflict, scenario in Belgium, part taken by the Belgian leaders, and the result of the Belgian model. So when we say scenario in Sri Lanka, we discussed that Sri Lanka is an island nation with diverse population, with major social groups, gained independence in 1948. Sinhala supremacy was established, adopted majoritarian measures. An act was passed in 1956. Sri Lankan Tamils alienated, and they strained relationships between Sinhala and Tamil communities. Right? Then, when we say act that was passed in 1956, the official language was taken as Sinhala. Preferential policies were adopted. Sinhala applicants were favored for the universities and the government jobs, and new constitution is stipulated. Then protection and fostering of Buddhism happened. Moving on to the Sri Lankan Tamils. For recognition of Tamil as the official language, the regional autonomy, equality of opportunity, education and jobs, several organizations were formed by 1980, and independent Tamil Elam state demanded. Right? Then we discussed the distrust turned into this civil war. Thousands of people from both the communities were killed. The people left the countries as refugees, and many lost their livelihoods. Right? So this is what happened in Belgium. We have already discussed it before. Innovative Belgian model also, we just recap. No, central government had the representation from both the Dutch and French communities. Then there the state was not the subordinate of the Belgian from the central government, and then there was a community government. Right? So the result of Belgian model avoided the civic strife, and Brussels was chosen as the European headquarters. So that's all for today's session, children. I hope the session was interactive and interesting for you. See you all in the next session. Till then, be safe, responsible, and